And so, welcome everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm Reverend Elizabeth Rowley, if you're just tuning in, and I'm the spiritual director and senior minister here at the Central Coast Center for Spiritual Living. And I have been on vacation. This is my first week back, and it's Travis's first Sunday back as well, as the musician. And we have had 4 weeks together. We got married in late August, and then we went on our honeymoon, and then I had 2 additional weeks of sabbatical. And I have to tell you, I feel sort of new. I feel I definitely feel refreshed, revitalized, and reinvigorated and inspired. And I'm so stoked to be here. And so I'm really, really looking forward to catching up with everybody at Coffee and Conversation, at least a little bit, and continuing to catch up throughout the coming weeks as we do. So what a beautiful day it is, though. Like I said, I feel a little bit new. We have a new situation here at home, and we're testing some things out. And so it's just sort of the way it goes, right? And here we are. So today is September 20th, and it's a great day to be alive, isn't it? Today is a great day to be alive. So much has happened since we last met, and it will continue to be revealed to you in wonderful tidbits as we go forward from here. But I have to tell you that one thing that I've learned the most during this pandemic is I've got to be flexible. I've got to be flexible, and survival of the fittest does not mean survival of the strongest. It's actually about survival of the malleable. So whoever is the most malleable, the most adaptable, is going to be able to bend when the wind comes and not snap and break. And so, yes, there's many sermons in this experience, but today I'm going to talk about facing fear and do you have faith, or are you had by fear? Now, the topic in the home office, there's several ministers who participate in assisting, and this year there were actually several other folks who helped create these outlines, the weekly talk outlines, to inspire the ministers and to have a jumping off point for inspiration for each Sunday. And this Sunday's was, do you have fear, or do you have faith, or are you had by faith? And I changed that to being had by fear, because I think whether you have faith or are had by faith, like faith has you, then you're great, right? But do you have the faith, or do you let fear consume you, and do you let that fear run you and cause you to make decisions that are not in service to your highest and greatest good? So that is what we're focusing on today. And I want to call attention to today, the country is really mourning the loss of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And many are looking at this to mean something horrible for our country. And my invitation for us all is to turn to our faith, which is something I'll speak about here more in a few minutes, but turning to our faith and telling ourselves until we believe the truth that something good must come of this. We don't need to doom and gloom about it. Something good has to come of this. It must. That is our nature. If we truly believe that the universe is working out for our highest and best good, something good must come of it. And our invitation is to stay centered in divine consciousness and to keep the faith that good will truly prevail. It must. And we continue to look up and fill ourselves with hope and possibility while we mourn and honor the beautiful gifts and amazing things that this woman brought to us all. Now, a favorite quote of mine from her is, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." I love that quote. So I say, rest in power, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Rest in power. And also on Friday, there was a there was the Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. It started on Friday, the 18th, I believe, and it ends this evening. So Lashana Tova to our Jewish friends and family members out there. I know we have a few. And so it's Happy New Year to you. We love you. And I know that this begins for you the high holy days, which are the 10 days leading up to Yom Kippur, the days of awe. And so Yom Kippur is actually the Day of Atonement, and that's my understanding is that that's the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. So we see you, my friends. We honor you. We love you. We celebrate you on this day. And then Tuesday morning at 6:30 a.m. is the autumn equinox, which is harvest time. So we have been planting seeds and nurturing and watering them for the past 6 months. And especially as we've sheltered in place, we've been growing, right? And now it's time to reap what we have grown. We're ready to harvest our good. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to harvest my good. Can I get an and so it is? Where's Travis? I need my and so it is, Travis. Guess he's not here. All right. So Ernest Holmes argues that faith and fear are two sides of the same coin. So if you are had by faith, he says you're coming from fear. That's where that topic part came from. But if you have the faith of God, you are coming from the knowingness that there is only one power and that all is possible through this one power. So hence the title of today's talk. Now, the first thing that we as Science of Mind students will be called to do is to refer to our glossary in the Science of Mind textbook on page 591, which tells us what faith is. It says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is complete when it is both a conscious and subjective acceptance. Faith may be consciously generated. That is key. Faith may be consciously generated. In spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law which directly and specifically responds to us. Thy faith has made me whole. Thy faith has made thee whole, in other words. And so we'll go from there to jump ahead to a few pages in advance, page 593 of the Science of Mind textbook. And here we will see the definition of fear. Now, the definition here says, perfect love casteth out fear. Fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Fear is the antithesis of faith. It is the negation of confidence. Like faith, fear may be conscious or subjective. And if it is to be eliminated, it must be removed both consciously and subjectively. Okay, then the next definition and the last one, I promise you, for now, is page 634 in the Science of Mind textbook, in case you're wondering, what does subjective mean? In our teaching, subjective means beneath the threshold of consciousness, the inner side, the subconscious, hidden, as in, maybe you didn't know you were afraid of X, but it turns out you are. Or consciously, you knew that you were afraid of X, and since you believed it to be, then it is so, and it moved from conscious into subjective. So there you have faith, fear, and subjective. Now, I have to tell you that I've had a lot of free time, more free time than I've had before, and it's been so wonderful to just kind of do whatever I want to do. And one of the things that I love is the Words with Friends app. Excuse me. Does anybody else play that game, Words with Friends? I love it. If you play the game, please start a game with me. But I love games, crossword puzzles, Scrabble, and Words with Friends. And so that is really the time that I get to have me time. And it serves as sort of a transitional period also for me. So, anyway, in this app, the letters will pop up. As you play letters, you get new ones and they pop up and they're sitting on this little tile rack and you can see them all lined up there. And so what happens for me when I see all of these letters lined up, I begin to form words, and some words are real and some words just come to mind and I don't even know the definition, and I get those words out there and I'm like, "Oh, that is a word. How cool is that?" Anyway, I'm giving away my secrets. But the other day, as I was preparing to return to you, something came up and there were 7 letters, and the letters were GODVNTG. And the word that immediately came up for me was, oh, GODVANTAGE. I giggled and thought, I have a GODVANTAGE. And we all have a GODVANTAGE when we have faith, don't we? So, what is a GODVANTAGE? I thought, if I were to define it, your faith in the one gives you an advantage in life that not everyone has. If you don't have this faith in the one, then you might not have the GODVANTAGE. But the faith of God gives you a GODVANTAGE. So there you go. It's a brand new word. And so, yes, there we go. Thank you, Gina. GODVANTAGE. We have a GODVANTAGE. That means that we are backed up by the universe too. And knowing and cultivating and nurturing this presence of love is it's advantageous. So that's going to probably have to be a whole sermon on its own. The GODVANTAGE. Yes? All right. So I want to share with you a story about facing fear. And this really speaks to fear that is conscious and fear that is subconscious, and how to sort of root them out and face them so that they can dissipate, and you can begin to walk in the faith and the love and continue building a life that you know is the life that you've been dreaming of and that you deserve. And this story, you may have heard it before in bits and pieces, and you may have heard it all, but I invite you to listen to it with new ears if you have heard it before. So when I first tried the flying trapeze, that's when I really learned the effects of fear on my mind and my body. It was so powerful. I was steeped in my science of mind studies and very keenly aware, very self-aware. And so picture the scene. I arrive at the Trapeze Art Studio in Oakland, California, like on a Saturday, and it's $45 or something that you pay, and they promise that you will learn how to fly through the air with the greatest of ease on the flying trapeze, and someone will catch you, and just like you see in the circus, right? Or you've seen on Bugs Bunny. And it's like, okay, I'm in. And so picture this scene though. I get there, I'm all set, signed waivers and all that, paid, and there's 2 minutes of nonstop talking. I could feel the lump rising up in my throat already. I feel it again right now, just thinking like, how am I supposed to remember all of this? And then the first thing I'm supposed to do is chalk up my hands. So I put my hands in this bucket of chalk and climb this narrow Bugs Bunny type ladder up, up, up. I don't know, hundreds of feet in the air. I don't know how far exactly. It seemed really high at the time though. And then you get up to this platform, and on the platform, I'm like, okay, here I'm on the platform now. This is cool. And then there is one person who hooks you in on one side, and then there's another person that comes up to help, and they hook you in on the left side. And then there is a trapeze bar. So, all right, so I'm supposed to grab the trapeze bar with one hand, So here we go. All right. I'm still standing on the platform. And then I'm supposed to let go and put my other hand on the back of the platform. Okay, I got this. And then the man on the other side is going to say listo, which means ready. And then when he says listo, I'm supposed to take my hand off of the platform and put it also on the trapeze bar out in front of me. All right, cool. Bend my knees a little bit. And then there's going to be someone else on the other side who actually then when the person to my right sees that I'm ready, I've got my perfect form, my hands are both on the trapeze bar, he'll say hep. And when he says hep, I'm supposed to just step off the platform and go woo, right? And it sounds so easy. And so okay, and then the coach is going to be down at the ground letting me know what to do next. Like she is down there telling me step by step. Now, when I stepped off of that platform, I know the woman was down there giving me the step by step instructions. I could hear her, but it was as if there was a curtain in between action and listen. And so I could hear, but I couldn't understand. Like I couldn't get the words that she was saying. It just wasn't making sense. It was like I was somewhere else. I was so mentally gripped by fear that it was impossible for me to take action. I could literally not move in that moment. And then finally, she said, her voice sounded like the teacher in Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. It was like, what is she saying? And then finally, I heard her say, let go and fall to the net. That I heard loud and clear. So then I was even scared to do that. It took a huge amount of effort for me to let go. But finally, I let go, fell to the net, adrenaline pumping, right? Body trembling. And I crawled my way. I remember just being shaky, crawled my way across the netting to the edge and flipped over the side onto the concrete. And I waited for my next turn. There I was waiting for my next turn. Everything good? And well, excuse me, while I was waiting, I told myself that I was going to be fine, that I have nothing to fear. This is totally safe. And everything in me is going, no, it's not, right? This is totally safe. They hooked me up in a safety harness on both sides. There's a giant safety net, like the size of my entire condo. And you know, I just tested it out. I fell into it. It caught me. It didn't hurt. I've got no scratches, no bruises. I'm fine. Besides, I'm backed up and supported by the universe. And time really flies when you're in there because suddenly it was time for my turn again. And you've got like 5 or 6 people rotating in the group, right? So this time, the fear was far less gripping, and I could hear the instructions and take the actions. It was a little bit sloppy, but the third time, I went again, and there was even less fear. And then I had more faith in that moment on the third time. So I worked on my timing now, and I had it almost perfected. Finally, it was time for me to get caught by the person on the other side. It seemed like this happened so fast, but I just went for it and it totally worked. I was amazed. And then it's so amazing. And then oh, that's a different topic. So I was going to go into even further. So then they want to teach you to do a new trick. But anyway, we'll backtrack a little bit. The point in this is that fear grips us. And when it does, it shuts us down. It shuts us down. So look at how it affected my flying trapeze performance. It does this in any area that we experience it. So whenever we have fear, there's something that prevents us from seeing our good. Now, what we're called to do is talk ourselves through it. Consciously state and affirm what it is that you believe, know, and wait to see the evidence of. Now, sometimes we can't because we're so consumed by this fear that we are unable to affirm the truth for ourselves. That's when we pick up the phone and, give myself a call, Reverend Diane, send us an email, or call your friends who are in spiritual community with you. Yes? So once fear is in the picture, it definitely keeps us from seeing, hearing, and experiencing our good. It keeps us from being keenly aware of what's going on all around us, and we might miss the good fortune that's waiting for us. It's just right here, It's just right here in front of us. Now, there is fear, don't get me wrong. There is fear that is necessary for us to keep us out of danger, but that's not the kind of fear that I'm talking about. We're looking at conditioned fear, or any fear that is unconsciously woven into our lives. Now, it takes practice to overcome our fears, just like my practice on the trapeze. And so we can do the same thing with our finances, right? By looking at our fear with love. So this actually transforms our fear to faith and builds trust in the abundance of the universe, faith and trust in God. And so with the flying trapeze, I never knew I had a fear of heights until I got up there. It must have been an unconscious fear. In other words, it was subjective. Like I wasn't aware of it until I was up there facing it. And then by facing it several times, not just once, over and over and over, right? And then, of course, I went back, the next week and a couple more times. It dissipated, and it was dissipated by my facing it. So we're called to feel our fear, look at it, examine it. What is that? Is it necessary? And it will dissipate. So we are also called to use the tools that are in our toolbox. We have faith, and now we can put our faith into practice. Yes?
Yes.
All right. There's Travis. So another great example is practicing tithing and giving as an act of faith to overcome our fear. So fear of losing money, or not having enough money, or not being enough, and so on. Many people experience this, And so we aren't practicing this practice so that we can get more, but we are practicing it so that we can know God, so that we can cultivate our faith and trust in the thing itself, which in our teaching includes love and law as the one who walks through all feet. So, tithing and giving as an act of faith is a powerful tool to transform your financial adversity into abundance, just as facing your fear transmutes your fear into faith and belief and goodness. So, the principle is there, and you can use it. Other people are using it quite successfully, quite successfully. So, why shouldn't we give it a try too? That's what I say. When I first discovered Science of Mind back in 2004, things were much different. My life was kind of a mess, I admit it. And I was working avidly, working so hard to pay back some debts that I had incurred from some choices that I had made previously as the result of poor stewardship of my money. And I often felt worried about how I was going to make ends meet. And it seemed like the bills just kept adding up and adding up, one on top of the other. And I had no idea how it would all get paid. And I got stressed out about it, And I could feel myself just constricting inside from this fear. And then I remembered, oh, I stopped my tithing. And so I started giving, and I gave 5% regularly, and I immediately noticed a shift in my thinking. I went from the autopilot reactive thoughts of fear, doubt, worry, and constriction, those compounding thoughts of unending payments that are due, to thoughts of, okay, God, I'm giving this percentage of my gross income, which at the time was like $5,000 and around $100 a week. And I'm practicing principle here, and it's very uncomfortable. I wasn't sure how to make the ends meet before, and I'm really not sure now. So I'm letting go of the how and turning it over to Sweet Spirit to guide me, direct me, and to do its thing, make it so. I trust in God, and it's up to God now. And it worked. So I started booking clients out of nowhere. Just like that, I made like $3,000 in extra income, and it continued to come and come. It didn't stop. It was outstanding, these new opportunities that kept appearing for me. And without any extra effort, I didn't have to go and like pay for all this extra advertising or really try really hard. It just started showing up. And then I had a new surplus, and then I had more overflow to pay my debt even faster. It was amazing. So this is what happens when we use principle. It flows through our so-called problems and out into form, from spiritual protoplasm, right? The unformed stuff, molded by our thought into a tangible formed stuff, a tangible formed something. So I always think of the water hose, and how sometimes we need to unkink that hose by loosening our grip of fear, doubt, or worry. And as we cultivate our strength and faith and trust in the abundance of the universe, our good flows through the hose with the power and force to be reckoned with. Have you ever had a kink in your garden hose? And you know how it's like drip, 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 and then you unkink the hose, and it comes out a little bit at first, and then just full force, right? Faster than before. And so that's what we're talking about. There is good, and you ought to have it, as Travis sang about. Yeah. There is good for me, and I ought to have it. And we are here to shine and be glorious. We will shine our lights. And so also in the past, I thought, oh, I had to give, like it's a requirement. And that created resentful feelings in me. Like, why do I have to do this? Or I might treat it like a bill that needed to be paid. So if you're practicing either of those, I invite you to eradicate those from your awareness right now. So the invitation is to continue to flex your faith muscle, and that is to believe in the abundance of the universe. And it continues to be so good and very good. Allow that goodness to be for you in your life. There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. Yes? Yeah. All right. Okay, so faith is not bargaining, begging, manipulating, or pleading. We want to be aware of that as well. It's not that. It's a calm knowingness that all is well. No matter what human condition we might be experiencing, faith looks beyond that which is to knowingness of the goodness of God. And faith is not superstition. It's not like you need to have a ritual or dogma or magic to experience faith. Ernest Holmes wrote that in order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built up from belief, acceptance, and trust. Whenever anything enters our thought which destroys in any degree one of these attitudes, to that extent our faith is weakened. And so that's Science of Mind, page 158, for those of you who are curious. And to eradicate that, whenever something comes up to pull us away from our faith and our belief, that's our opportunity to pull that faith, the wrench, out of the tool belt and make an adjustment, right? So faith is not static. It requires practice. So you can do giving or tithing as a spiritual practice. And we'll talk more about all of that in October. But it's the giving in a regular, conscious manner, right? Just like if you're wanting to get in a better shape physically, you will really change your eating habits and your lifestyle, right? And so you will start doing certain exercises that will promote fitness of your body, and it's not like you just do it once and then boom, I'm done. That would be really cool, but it doesn't work that way. So you do a little bit, right? You do a little bit every day, like a half an hour. And the same is true with our prayer, our meditation, our spiritual fellowship, our sacred service, and our spiritual study. And so we can all do a little bit of these every day to fine tune and to build up our faith and our belief. So that way, when you have the experience of faith or stress, you're practicing having faith in the good times. So when there's a stressful situation, you can easily turn to it. And it's not like something you have to build up from nothing in that moment, right? So faith, I tell you, always works out better than fear. Always. Always. It always does. So in the Bible, there's a good story in Mark 11:22. And it says, "And Jesus answered them, 'Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours.'" And so in our faith belief, we aren't asking in prayer, we are affirming. So whatever you are affirming in your prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. In other words, you say you can and you will. If you say you can't, then you won't. That's just the way it is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And the other story that I just have to bring up from the Bible before I wrap it up here is the story of the woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had some sort of hemorrhage and was under the care of many, many doctors. And she had spent all of her fortune on getting treatments, and her condition only grew worse. So she would soon die of this ailment. But she heard that Jesus was coming to town, and she told herself, if I can just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. If I can just touch even the bottom of his robe, I'll be healed. He arrived and he was in a crowd of people. She approached him and touched the hem of his robe, and her bleeding immediately stopped. And she felt in her body that she was freed from this suffering. And in that moment, Jesus felt that something had happened and asked, who touched me? He couldn't see. And the woman was kind of crouched down. And she came to him and fell to his feet and told him everything that had happened. And he told her, "Oh, your faith has healed you, and you should go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Your faith has healed you. There is power in this, right? And so I've heard of people who go to see like John of God to be healed. And it makes you wonder, you have to think about this. Is it their belief that John of God is going to heal them, or does John of God actually do something to heal them? Well, I would tell you that it's their faith and their belief that this thing will heal them. And that's awesome. So why can't we just do that without going all the way wherever he is? Where is he? Brazil? Anyway, that's another sermon too. So it is done unto us as we believe. Believe you can and you will. Believe you can't and you won't. And remember that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And fear is the antithesis of faith and must be eradicated both consciously and subjectively from our consciousness. So we can practice invoking faith. It is not something we just have and forget about. Like I have my hands, and they're going to be there, You have to invoke this faith and practice it. Practice your faith. And you are practicing your faith when you respond to the world with love, compassion, kindness, and not fear. Cultivating faith produces an attitude of love, trust, and compassion. So this week, I invite you to practice kindness with everyone. As you do so, you are surrendering any of your egoic attachments, the need to be right, any need to fight. You allow yourself to be completely immersed in the divine perfection and wholeness of who you already are. Remember that you have faith and therefore you have a GODVANTAGE. When you flex your faith muscle, you are unstoppable. Your faith in the One gives you an advantage in life that not everyone has. Use that. The faith of God gives you this GODVANTAGE. Use it. Practice it. Try this at home. Let's pray. Oh, what a wonderful opportunity it is now to turn within and return to that beautiful, expansive space where I know that God is all that there is. It's all that there ever was and all that there ever will be. And I'm so grateful in this moment to know that this presence is in me, as me, through me, just as it is in, as, and through each individual here, watching now or watching in the future. And I know there is no time in spirit. So the time is right now. We are living in this eternal moment, the eternal nowness of the moment, and there is so much good. There is a spontaneous giddiness of love and life and flow that wants to pour into our experience, and I am not blocking it. I say, dissipate anything in this moment that has been hindering or blocking any of our experience of this faith and love and the kingdom of good, which is right here, right now, and always. And that is to say that everything that you deeply desire is actually permeating the entire environment right now, whether it's peace, joy, love, harmony, bliss, wisdom, beauty, magnificence, prosperity. All things good are right here in this space, and it's up to us to see it. It's not just empty space. It's all the good that we can imagine for ourselves and our lives and for the lives of everyone. And we reach out and pull it in by thinking and by affirming and through our affirmative prayer and what we talk about with other people. And so I'm grateful to know that we have the GODVANTAGE. We have this GODVANTAGE and we use it. Each and every one of us uses it from today going forward. And I'm so grateful for the goodness that is revealed in each life that is here. I know our lives are blessed and divinely guided, and so much good comes of this. And we continue to see that good in everything. There are invisible blessings that are on our way that we didn't know about. There are blessings in our lives that we can count and name. And these blessings that are on their way in. I mean, how fun is that to imagine? We don't even know what these beautiful blessings are, but they're coming and we welcome them all. We say yes to our good and remember there is good for me and I ought to have it. And I am ready to shine and be glorious. I'm shining my light for here and now and forevermore. It is so good. So thank you, Spirit, for this beautiful opportunity to come together on this Sunday, September 20th, 2020. It's been an amazing year, and I'm so grateful for the autumn equinox that is coming on Tuesday morning at 6:30 Pacific time and 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, and know that we are harvesting our good. And so preparing our vessels right now for the harvest, right? We are ready for our good. We are ready to receive, and the universe is abundant in its supply, and it is forever giving to us and always saying yes. I am so grateful for this prosperity. I'm so grateful for this faith. I'm so grateful for all of the good that continues to pour forth into our lives individually and collectively and our spiritual center. And I also speak a word of beautiful gratitude in this moment for Reverend Diane for all of the amazing work that she did in service, keeping she was the glue keeping us all together while I was able to get the rest that I needed. I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for Gina and BJ and Charlie and Travis and anyone and everyone who stepped in behind the scenes that I may not have spoken about here. And thank you to our donors. Thank you for your generosity. Oh, we're just so blessed. So blessed. Life is good, and I am so grateful. And I also include in this prayer anyone who is hurting or suffering in this moment. Please know that we hold you in the highest and lift you up to the light, and know that your prayer is answered, and God is saying yes right now and always. And so it is.